Hello. Hello, everyone. Good evening. Today is Thursday, October 23rd, 2014. Welcome to Hate Live. This is the very first Hate Live podcast that I've done in a month because we've been so busy, so crazy, just slammed with gaming releases as I knew I was going to be that I just had to forego doing the podcast because I needed more time for gameplay streams. Finally, this week, there was a week where I decided to forego a few things, didn't do a few releases. I was doing a horror-themed marathon week, and so we finally have time for Hate Live. And boy, am I excited. Let me tell you guys, because this week in particular, we've got so much to talk about. So much has happened over the past month in regards to gaming news, gaming updates, big releases, controversies, all kinds of stuff, that I had to write a freaking giant list of stuff to talk about on this podcast. Pretty wild, because I couldn't even keep it all contained in my head, all the stuff I wanted to talk about. And if anything, if you have not been paying attention to what's been going on with games recently, you're going to get a giant update today on all that. Big cumulative update, okay? In addition, we are going to have a Back in the Day segment tonight, and this in honor of October, and being that this is the first podcast I'm doing in October, I decided it's going to be a Halloween special where I'm going to do retrospective thinking back on my youth. As a kid, what did I used to do for Halloween? Who did I dress up as? What were our traditions? Did I attend any parties, etc., etc.? All about Halloween. That's going to be the Back in the Day segment this week, and I think that you guys are really going to enjoy it. So whether you're watching this on YouTube or on Twitch TV Live, I appreciate you being here. Thanks very much. I've said this before, and I'll say it again. Hate Live, this podcast, is actually one of my favorite things to do, simply because it's so different from my other content. You know what I mean? When I'm doing a gameplay playthrough or whatever, and you're just talking about the game, you're trying to do wisecracking jokes and stuff during the course of the gameplay, or I'm giving my honest reactions, it's fun, but it can get tedious when you're doing it en masse. This is something where I get to do something completely different. Talk about my feelings about things that are going on, reveal stuff about my personal life, also give my opinions on stuff going on in the mainstream media and stuff like that, and I love it. I love Hate Live, so thanks a lot for being here. So let's get started. Right off the bat, let's cover something that happened earlier today that I want to clear the air on. I didn't feel well. Basically last night, in the middle of the night, I had a craving for some kind of food, and I didn't want to feel like eat greasy chips or anything like that, and I said, let me see what's in the fridge. So I'm not kidding you not, this was about midnight last night. I started to get a craving, and I opened up my freezer drawer. Gee, is there anything in here I could just nuke quickly or whatever? And there, crammed into the bottom of the drawer, was a one lean pocket that I had left over from, I think it was 2 months ago. And I was like, I still have this? Wow. And I pulled it out, and I was like, oh, this will be a great idea. I'll have a lean pocket, right? I ate the lean pocket. At the time, it felt all right. I went to sleep, and I woke up in the middle of the night, and my stomach was killing me. And I was like, uh-oh, this probably was a bad idea. By the way, it was Philly cheesesteak was the flavor. So finally, I wake up this morning when I'm supposed to get up around 10 a.m., and I'm like, oh, I felt like I was going to barf. I did. I just felt like I was going to, if I even moved the wrong way too quickly, that I was going to lose control. And I kind of rolled around in bed a little bit, and I was like, oh, I just feel terrible. And I was like, I'm going to try to sleep it off, because sometimes if you just, you get that feeling, you sleep an extra hour or whatever, you'll feel better. So I pushed the clock forward, hit the snooze button or whatever. And I ended up waking up between 11 and 12, and I still just felt so sick to my stomach. Like, you know how you get that feeling when you think your face looks green? That's basically how I felt. And I was just like, oh, this is terrible. I don't feel good. And so I ended up canceling my first stream today. Now, the good news is, thank goodness if this was going to happen, that it happened this week of all weeks, because as we're about to talk about, there is an insane amount of releases that we're on the precipice, the edge of release, and literally I'm probably not going to have any breathing room until the end of December this year, because there's so many games coming out that I'm interested in playing. But that being said, I was a little disappointed because this week, as you know, I'm doing a horror-themed classic marathon where I was playing Resident Evil 3 balanced with Parasite Eve. And today was supposed to be the big day when I did a 4-hour Parasite Eve stream, and I was going to push ahead in the game and possibly even get near the end of it. And that didn't happen because I really didn't feel that well. And so what I ended up doing was I used the bathroom, went back to sleep, kind of rolled around in bed for an hour or two, not feeling too well. And by the way, this is the first time that I actually took unscheduled time off since I moved to Washington. So pretty wild that for 4 straight months, literally every day, I'm here streaming and doing stuff with you guys. But I took the time. I felt, after that time, I used the bathroom again, probably around 3 to 4 p.m. I felt a little better. The good news is I was able to eat dinner. I stomached it. I'm fine now. I'm not feeling any kind of discomfort in this general region, and I feel better. So it sucks that it happened. I'm sorry that it happened. I didn't want to not have a first stream today, but unfortunately, sometimes stuff happens. I made a bad judgment call last night. It didn't turn out too well. But now I'm better, and I'm back here for Hate Live tonight. So I'm excited that I was able to recuperate and be here for you guys tonight. Speaking of which, the shirt I'm wearing is a blast from the past because I believe I got this as a gift from a fan between either 2009 or 2010, back when I was playing vanilla Street Fighter 4, and I was really big into it, and I was playing Blanca all the time, and it was cool. I looked at my drawer, I was like, man, that shirt's awesome, and I almost never wear it. I think I'll wear it for the podcast tonight and get it some nice exposure, right? So, thanks to the fan who sent me that years and years ago. I don't even know if you even still watch my content, but as you can see, I still got the shirt, and I'm still very appreciative of it. Okay. So, now let's talk about all the gaming news that's going on. First of all, I want to discuss the games that I've been playing up to now in the hardcore gaming season, and I want to talk about this upcoming insane amount of releases that's about to explode, alright, and how I'm going to handle it. So first of all, it's been about a month since we did Hate Live, and if you remember the last time around, we actually did a preview. We did a hardcore gaming season preview of all the stuff that was about to be released. Well, it's a month later, a lot of this stuff was released, and what were the general feelings around a lot of them? Well, what I can tell you is this. Basically, there were 3 big games that I felt were good, okay? Maybe they didn't necessarily live up to the insane hype that a lot of people put behind them, but I thought that they were really good entries, and they're definitely going to be kind of games that I'm considering when it comes to my year-end best of the year, okay? And the first one, of course, was Middle-earth: Shadows of Mordor, the Lord of the Rings themed game that's a kind of a prequel, semi-sequel to things that happened during the course of the events of Middle-earth and Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit and stuff like that. And I really liked the game, although I think that a lot of people completely overhyped it, or just because it was such a dead summer, because it had been so long since we played a worthwhile game that so many people got their hands on this game and said, oh, it's actually a decent game, that they just kind of overhyped it and blew it up. I don't think it was like so groundbreakingly amazing, although the Nemesis system that was in the game was really excellent, and I did enjoy it. I think that it's a good action-style game. If you like games like Batman Arkham City or you like Assassin's Creed, you're probably going to like this game. But I don't want anyone to get the impression that this is something that it's not. It's a great, solid entry, and it was a good way to start off the hardcore gaming season. Then we had Alien Isolation, which completely took me by surprise because I hadn't been really following that game much at all. I just knew there was going to be an alien survival horror game, and I loved it. I thought that they did an awesome job with the Alien franchise. Incredible amounts of fan service and stuff in this game. The fact that the game is true survival horror where you really have to get from point A to point B without really fighting too much was awesome. And it was a really well done game. Alien Isolation was actually a sleeper hit for me because it wasn't a game that I was giving too much attention to. And despite the fact that the mainstream gaming media basically played the game wrong if you read their reviews and tried to rush through it on hard difficulty and then they complained that the game's too hard, if you actually play the game like you're supposed to play a first-person survival horror game, it's really good. So I loved it, and I hope that you guys will give it a shot and check it out if you like that style of game. And then, of course, recently, just this past week, we had The Evil Within, the new horror game from Shinji Mikami, that I think I liked it, but I didn't love it. Let's put it that way. I think that a lot of people really overhyped it to say, oh, it's the return of true survival horror. Shinji Mikami made the first 4 Resident Evil games, and he's going to be great. And when you play the game, you realize it really is it's Resident Evil 4 with a different little variations on it and a lot more gore. And some people are going to like that and some people aren't. I personally was not scared or even creeped out much by the game. I thought that Alien Isolation was a much better survival horror game. It gave me the chills more. It made me feel more scared of stuff that was going to happen versus Evil Within was just kind of like gore, 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 gore with Resident Evil 4 gameplay. So I liked it. I didn't absolutely love it. I hope that it doesn't, that you guys will give it a shot. It's definitely worth a play, but I don't know if it's something that's going to redefine the survival horror genre. I don't think it did at all. So that's been the last few weeks, all right? We've had 3 solid, great gaming weeks with lots of releases and lots of stuff to do, and had a lot of fun. NBA 2K15 with its stupid face scan that didn't work ended up being like 3 hilarious videos that everyone watched. I got over like 20,000 views on each video because of the stupid face scan not working and me raging. And I definitely had fun these past few weeks with you guys. Now, this week was a different take because this week I was doing this horror theme, this horror marathon. And I'm going to be honest, some people I think got turned off because they were like, well, Phil could have played Borderlands the pre-sequel, he could have played Killer Instinct Season 2, but he made his own conscious choice to not play those new releases and instead to go back and play 2 retro horror games. I don't like that. I wanted to see modern games, so I'm not watching the content. And I can't stop anyone from having that mentality. I can't. For years, I've tried to open people's eyes. I've played games like Earthbound and the classic Final Fantasies on the Super NES and Zelda. I've tried to show that even though games could be outdated, it doesn't mean they're bad, and that these are games that are really great experiences that people should experience because it laid the groundwork for all the modern stuff that we have today. But whenever I play one of these games, it's like there's a certain group of my viewership that just, they don't want to hear it, and they plug their ears like this. I'll come back when you play new games, Phil. Neener. And I can't make those people listen. I can't. At this point, I've kind of, a year ago, I played Earthbound, and I got very angry that people weren't watching me play it because they complained it was an old game, and I went off on Twitter, and that's the wrong attitude to have. It really is. You got to be more constructive and say, listen, I know that I'm not going to have my mainstream viewer base behind me for this game, but if I watch it, if I play it and I get 10% of the people who usually watch me play a game watching, and they learn, wow, this is actually a great game, this is cool, and they learn a little bit about the history of survival horror, and they get to experience stuff for the first time, you know what? Great. And that's kind of the attitude I'm going to attack it from now on. I don't care if I get 10,000 people watching or 100 people watching. If it's a game that I'm enjoying and it's something that maybe people can get something out of, I'm just going to attack it like that. And so, it is what it is. That's why this week you haven't heard me flipping out, even though people come to the stream, oh, gee, the stream doesn't have a lot of viewers on it. I wonder what's going on. I'm not flipping out about it because it's not worth it. For me to get upset about it when I consciously made the choice to play retro horror games in honor of Halloween in October, it is what it is, okay? But now we have to address the elephant in the room. Before we start talking about all the new games that are about to come out, we have to address the fate of Parasite Eve, because today was the day I was supposed to play a big chunk of it, and I didn't. And now people are probably wondering, uh-oh, what's going to happen with Parasite Eve now, because he was in the middle of it, and what's going to happen? Here's the deal, everyone. It's this simple. Over the next few days, I'm going to be busy with stuff. I'm going to be playing Bayonetta 2, starting tomorrow. I'm going to beat Resident Evil 3 tomorrow, okay? I have to play Bayonetta 2 all weekend into next week, because next week there's 2 more new releases that I'm really interested in. We're about to start talking about that, okay? But that being said, I don't want people to feel like, oh, well, now Phil's because he had a sick day or whatever, now that's it for Parasite Eve. What I will do is I will put it on the back burner for now. We will focus on the new releases that are coming out, but I will wait for a time when there will probably be not a lot going on, and that will probably be the game that returns so that I can beat the playthrough. I do want to finish the game. I'm only halfway through it, okay? And as we go through the schedule, as you're about to hear, there is one week in particular where there's really only one game out, and that would be the great week for me to maybe balance Parasite Eve with that game, and maybe even if I beat it, maybe I can even go back to Tales of Exilia 2 and finish that, because people are saying I'm only a few hours away from like the climax of that game too, and I kind of stopped playing it for a while. So, we're going to talk about it, okay, and we'll see what happens, but hopefully I can get back to Parasite Eve in the next couple of weeks, even though it's not going to be immediately. Hopefully I can get back to it, okay? Okay. So here we go. Let's talk now about the insano amount of games that are being released in the next several weeks to month that I'm going to be trying to play. And now I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the conundrum that I'm in right now in regards to these games. So let's go through it. This Friday, tomorrow, I'm beginning my Bayonetta 2 playthrough. That'll be continuing all until next week. Tuesday of next week, we got 2 new releases, Lords of the Fallen, as well as Sunset Overdrive. Very excited for that week. It's going to be a unique week, 2 completely separate styles of games I'm going to be trying out, and I hope that, Sunset Overdrive, finally a reason to boot up my Xbox One, which at this point is probably so outdated with the stuff inside. I haven't played it since D4, which was, about a month ago. So I got to get it all booted up and updated and up to date on everything. So that's next week. The week after that, there's only one release, and this is the week I was talking about where I may have time to balance this release with games like Parasite Eve and Tales of Exilia 2. Call of Duty Advanced Warfare. Now, a lot of people at this point are very, very skeptical of the Call of Duty franchise. I am one of them, all right? Because at this point, after several years of them just kind of every year having a new Call of Duty, and it really wasn't very innovative every year, this year I think a lot of people are going to say, after Ghosts and how shitty that game was, we just don't want to fucking buy another Call of Duty game. Because Ghosts was so bad when it came to online multiplayer, terrible fucking gameplay, a campaign that a lot of people wrote off as insanely laughable with dogs and stuff, that a lot of people this time around are saying, I don't even know if I'm going to get Call of Duty this year. At the same time, you have to understand that Call of Duty has this installed user base that they buy the game every year, so even if the game doesn't do as well as it used to, it's probably still going to make sales numbers and all that. You're still going to hear about how it made bajillions of dollars, okay? I definitely am checking it out. As you know, I play it every year, and I'm actually interested to see what they do with it this year. Supposedly it's way different. It's supposed to be futuristic now, and you know they're kind of going in a different direction with it yet again. We'll see what happens, but I'm definitely going to be playing the campaign. I'll be checking out the online modes. We'll see what happens, okay? Now, the week after that, which is the second week of November, this is when things go nuts. So hold on to your pants. Wait till you see how many games are coming out. That week alone, it's Halo Master Chief Collection, Assassin's Creed Rogue, Assassin's Creed Unity, and The Crew. No, actually, I take that back. The Crew originally was going to come out that week, but it ended up getting bumped to December. So The Crew's in December now, but I had it written down because it was originally for that week. The week after that, you've got Far Cry 4, Dragon Age Inquisition, Pokemon Omega Ruby, which is the one that I'm getting for 3DS. Both of the Sonic Boom games, I believe, are coming out that week. It could be the week before because they keep changing the dates, but there's a Sonic Boom game coming out for the 3DS and for the Wii U, and they're made by different dev teams and are totally different games. So you got those two games. Smash Brothers on the Wii U, and Little Big Planet 3, all coming out in the same week. Far Cry 4, Dragon Age Inquisition, both Sonic Boom games, Pokemon Smash, and Little Big Planet 3 all the same week. What the fuck? Seriously, like, what? WTF? How is anyone supposed to be able to handle this? You know what I mean? Like, if you're interested in games and you've been waiting all year for all these releases, why are they all coming out fucking now? Why didn't they come out earlier? Of course, because we're the games publisher, and we think that the game will sell more right before December. Anyway, like, those games aren't going to cut into each other, you know what I mean? Like, if any of those games weren't released earlier in the year, they wouldn't have done better because maybe people had more money instead of everyone spending everything at once, but I digress. So, all that in 1 week, and then in the beginning of December, we actually take a break that last week in November with no releases, but then come December, we've got Kingdom Hearts 2.5 Remix, Captain Toad for the Wii U, and like I said, The Crew. The Crew got pushed to December. So you're talking literally, within a month's time, probably a good 15 to almost 20 releases that I'm interested in. And so I actually went ahead and I posted all this on my forums last night. And I said, I'm really looking for advice from you guys because I need feedback on how to tackle this. There's literally so much coming out. There's obviously no way humanly possible that I'm going to be able to play all those games when they're new and beat them within a reasonable amount of time. It's just not going to happen. There's not enough time in the day. It's not feasible. So what I'm going to have to do is end up picking and choosing which games do I want to start when, which games do I want to continue to play and do the playthrough of at that time, and which games, maybe I'll hold off to complete that game. And everyone on the forums has different opinions, okay? Oh, and by the way, I forgot. I also didn't say WWE 2K15, I forgot as well. Sorry about that. Someone mentioned it in the stream chat. That also is that crazy week in November. WWE 2K15 off the PS4 comes out that week. And yes, I am covering that. Don't worry. That's one of the big ones that I'm actually really anticipating because I'm a big fan of pro wrestling, as you guys know. I'm into it. I do online play. I do Sims. I do this campaign. I do everything in that game. And I'm very excited for it. So don't worry. That's coming as well. Alright, so all that being said, Everyone seems to have different opinions. Some people are saying Sonic Boom looks terrible, just completely skip it. Some people are saying, oh, why are you going to play The Crew? It's a driving game, you don't want to play that. Some people are like, oh, you should play Assassin's Creed Rogue first because everyone else will be playing Unity, so maybe you'll get more attention with Rogue. Some people are saying, that's stupid, play Unity, everyone wants to see Unity. Rogue just seems like a throwaway game that plays just like Black Flag. Some people are saying, skip Pokemon. Some people are saying, what, are you fucking crazy? Phil's never played a Pokemon game. We're dying to see him play a Pokemon game. Definitely play Pokemon. Some people say, oh, Halo Master Chief Collection, that's a remaster. Why are you playing that? Other people said, but wait, Phil never played Halo 2, and that would be great to see him do a playthrough of Halo 2 because it's like the most highly regarded Halo game that there is. We want to see him do it, so he should do that. But maybe he shouldn't do it right away when it's new, since there are other new games that are coming out, and that is just a remaster. And it's like, woo, what the hell do I do? Okay, so undoubtedly as we get closer, every week we're going to be talking about this and trying to figure out what should I be playing, what order should I be playing, etc. How often? Is there a game that maybe I should only play once a week? Like maybe Smash can be every Sunday or something like that. Little Big Planet could be once a week where I do co-op with Leanna or something. I don't know. It's just out of control, the amount of releases that are coming. And I'm really gonna have to figure out how to do this, and I'll think about it. Now the good news is this, I mean obviously it's a win-win for everyone. The reason it's a win-win is because number one, I have almost unlimited new content coming out where it's like until next year I don't even have to think. I could easily every day just sit down and play a game, and then of course then near the end of December I do my year-end series, so I'm done. I'm booked for the rest of the year. I don't have to think about, oh, what's a downtime series for this or that. I'm done. I'm good. I'm 100% know that I'm going to have content till the end of the year, which is great for me. It's great for you because you know, oh, all right, Phil won't be playing these older retro games. He's going to be playing all new content till the end of the year and we get to watch it. So there it's good, but of course, then it becomes, when it's too much? That almost seems like it's pushing in the direction of it's going to be too much to handle, and we're going to have to figure it out, working together, what exactly people want to see right away and what they're willing to wait on to see me play, okay? So I'm going to do my best, everyone, to cover everything, especially the games, obviously, that I just mentioned. I'm sure there's going to be things that are going to get thrown by the wayside, things that are going to be put on the back burner or put on hold for later. But understand that I am going to eventually try to get to everything here that I've mentioned that I definitely want to play. And even though it might be that particular game that you were dying to see that I'm playing upon release, I am going to get to them, and I definitely will appreciate your patience as we get through this very busy gaming time of the year, and you guys, jump on and finally get to see the games that you're waiting for, okay? Okay. Whew. All right, so now let's talk a little bit about gaming. Actually, no, there's one more thing I want to mention, actually, before we get to gaming news, which there is a bunch of. There is the possibility that in a couple of weeks we're going to have a special guest here on Hate Live. It'll be the very first special guest I've ever had on Hate Live. I'm not going to reveal who this person is, and I'm also not going to, overhype it or anything because I don't want to build up expectations because it may not happen. But there's possibility we may have a very special guest on Hate Live in a couple of weeks. I'll be giving you more information on that as we approach that time frame, okay? All right, let's talk game news and game updates and all things going on, because since in the month that I have not done Hate Live, an insane amount of stuff has happened, okay? An insane amount of stuff. And I don't want to get so backed up that I never talk about this stuff, okay? So the first one is there has already been a big update to the Nintendo 3DS. For those of you who don't know, or maybe haven't turned on your 3DS in a while because you weren't interested in Smash or whatever, the 3DS now has the capability to have themes on your dashboard. So similar to how Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, you could buy a theme and it would be their background for when you went around your console, the 3DS now has this as well, and the themes range from anywhere from free, it actually comes with a few free themes, to $1 to I think the most expensive one is $2. Some of them admittedly are pretty neat to have a cool Mario themed background going on whenever you turn on your 3DS. Of course, it's basically just a quick money grab by Nintendo. It adds no actual functionality to the system. It doesn't really make it any better or worse. It's just, oh, it's nice to have a nice themed background. So that was actually added to the 3DS, and pretty much no one talked about it because no one really gives a crap. But similarly to that, next week there's a big update coming to the PlayStation 4 dashboard. This one not only will, add themes, if you can believe it, but it also is going to be doing some functionality upgrades. So for example, you're going to be able to add music and play music to your PS4 or off of your PS4 via USB. Something that, it's so simple. If I have music on a hard drive, why can't I just plug it into my damn console and play the music? Now you can. okay? So that'll be interesting. What I'm interested to see, which I don't know, I doubt that it's going to be implemented in time, but to see if you could actually have that work with WWE 2K15. Imagine if on the fly I could just download the latest themes for the wrestlers and put it into the game so the right music is in the game instead of worrying about, oh, it's the outdated themes or whatever, or new wrestler debuts and then I don't have music for them or anything like that. Maybe we could do that. But again, the game's coming out next month. I don't know if they're going to have even time to add that feature when just the ability to play the music isn't even added until next week, okay? It's also going to have this thing called Share Play. I'm not sure exactly what it is. I haven't done too much research on it. Obviously, it sounds like you could share games across accounts, right? But I don't know what it is. But basically, there's all new functionality being added to the PlayStation 4 next week. You definitely should give it a look, especially if you have a PlayStation 4. I'll definitely be looking into it and seeing what this is going to be, okay? Today in particular, there was a huge Nintendo Direct press conference on the internet that was 100% dedicated to Smash coming out on the Wii U. So yeah, we've all had Smash Brothers now on our 3DSs for almost a month, and I think at this point most people are finding it kind of played out. It has a lot of characters, that's good, but really I think a lot of people have been saying, like when it comes to modes and stuff, it really doesn't have that much. I mean, okay, I played through the arcade-style mode to unlock certain characters, and I did all-star mode, and I did a challenge, and I unlocked a new stage, but, you know, now after you play it for a month and you realize what else is there to the game, I think a lot of people are disappointed that the netcode of it, unfortunately, is so laggy. And I think Nintendo really wanted to try to bolster their sales for the Wii U version of the game by coming out and saying, here's what to expect on the Wii U. It's not just a clone of the 3DS version. So today they did this big Nintendo Direct press conference announcing over 50 pieces of news about Nintendo's Wii U version of Smash, okay? And I'm not going to cover all the things. I'm just going to very briefly go through a few of the things that were discussed. If you want to see all this, you should watch the press conference. It's available now on demand. You should definitely check it out. But some of the things they announced, new game modes in the game that aren't in the 3DS version, tons of them, including the ability to play 8-player locally, and some of the maps are huge now. Like, they made these giant stages because the Wii U can actually handle it, that they created for 8-player local co-op. Unfortunately, online play for 8 players is out of the question, and I'm kind of relieved because they couldn't even handle 4-player co-op on the 3DS. Can you imagine them trying to handle 8-player online multiplayer? It would have been impossible. They announced that there's the possibility of future DLC characters, and even announced that if you already own the 3DS version of the game and you buy the Wii U version of the game, that next year for free you will receive Mewtwo. That's right, the fan favorite character from previous Smash games that was not in this one. He'll be coming out next year as DLC if you bought both versions. So some people were like, wow, that's awesome, and other people were like, wait a minute, I didn't buy the 3DS version. That's bullshit. Why can't I get Mewtwo? You know? And that is kind of silly. You gotta buy the game twice to get a character, you know? So there's a lot of controversy around that. So basically there's a lot of... Oh yeah, voice chat, the other big thing. There is going to be voice chat in the game, if you can believe it, is if you're playing with friends. If you have people on your friends list and you're playing Smash, you'll be able to use voice communications with them. This is the first game on the Wii U that's doing that. So that's big news, and people are interested to see how exactly that's going to be implemented, considering the fact that no one's actually tried the mic that's built into the stupid gamepad because no games use it. So this is going to be pretty interesting. Okay, so all that information being said, I can see two different things. First of all, if you have been anticipating Smash Brothers on the Wii U, and if you are just so hyped for it, and you, wow, so much new content that's going to be coming out in this version of the game, seems like Nintendo's listening to fans, they've got fan favorite characters returning and stuff, you might be super pumped. On the flip side of that, you might be super pissed, because maybe you just spent $40 on the 3DS version just to find out it's basically a watered down version of the full game, and that people who get the Wii U version are getting tons of content that you didn't get. Maybe you don't have a Wii U, right? You didn't want to buy a whole new console just to play that version of Smash, but you had a 3DS, so you bought the 3DS version, and now you found out you got an inferior version that most people, unless they don't buy the Wii U version, probably won't be playing anymore. So you're like, oh, what the fuck? And it's kind of exactly to what I was saying a few months ago. I don't think that Smash had to come out for 3DS. I don't think it was needed. What it was a 2-month hype built up for people to buy it on the Wii U. People bought it in anticipation. Oh, I want to learn the characters and I want to get the gameplay down so when it comes out for Wii U and I can actually play on a gamepad instead of this piece of shit thumbstick that everyone's breaking playing the game, then I can play it and already have a head start. And that's really what it is. It was a 2-month head start of hype for you to play the real game that's on the Wii U. And I think it's a cash grab by Nintendo. My personal opinion is that Nintendo knew everyone who had a 3DS would buy Smash in anticipation of the Wii U version, right? So that's $40 in their pocket, and now the Wii U version comes out, that's another $50. So Nintendo got us all. We all bought the game, we're going to buy the game twice. They got us, you know? And it really is stupid that it was out on the 3DS to begin with. Because it's a watered-down version of the game with bad controls and less modes. So, thanks, Nintendo. That really put a lot of confidence into your consumer when you did a press conference today basically announcing, haha, you bought the piece of shit version of the game. The real version's coming out next month. Ha ha ha, fuck you. We got you $40 already. So, there you have it. So, that's all the news coming out with Nintendo right now. Capcom had a big announcement this past week announcing both Resident Evil Revelations 2 has been greenlit, giving lots of details regarding the game and the characters who will be in the game and the style of gameplay, and also giving even more details regarding their new Resident Evil 1 remake, which is basically a remake of a remake. Now, I know to a lot of you might be saying, what? Yeah, it's true. Resident Evil 1 on the PlayStation 1 was remade in the early 2000s for the GameCube, had a lot of gameplay changes and innovations added to the game, the graphics were dramatically improved, the actual layout of the mansion was changed, and there was all new content and stuff added to the game. Well, here we are another 10 years later, and Capcom says, we'll remake the remake with a remake. Yo, dog, we heard you like remakes, so we're going to put a remake of a remake into a remake. So, yeah, so that's coming next year, in addition to Resident Evil Revelations 2. So what were some of the details released? First of all, Resident Evil's HD remake is going to have modern controls. Yes, it's actually going to have the modern control scheme for Resident Evil in the game, so you can dodge around and the zombies can't grab you because your crappy tank controls. And I think some people who maybe played those games back in the day, the original 3 Resident Evils, and hated the controls are like, yes, finally I can play Resident Evil 1 and be able to move. And other people are kind of like, well, isn't that going to really change the challenge of the game? Because the game was really challenging because of the clunky control scheme. With an action-based control scheme, isn't it going to make it incredibly easy? And they actually interviewed the game designer for that, and he said, well, you know, we understand the game's probably going to be way easier than the original, but this is what I think people want. That's basically what he said in the article. So basically the game's going to be so fucking easy because you're going to have slow zombies barely even grabbing you, and you're going to be doing dodge rolls and backflips and fucking all kinds of crazy shit. So that was announced on that version. Now, the other big news was about Resident Evil Revelations 2. In fact, it was the cover story of Game Informer this month. Big news is that Claire Redfield is back after a ton of time where she's been away from the games. The new character that you see on this cover is actually Barry Burton's daughter, which is kind of wild that they're actually bringing back Barry Burton into the storyline after he's been out for how many years, right? That's pretty wild. So they announced all this stuff, you know, about Resident Evil Revelations 2, and I say I have some mixed feelings about this. I'm excited because I actually really, really liked Resident Evil Revelations 1. I did. I thought that it was a great game. The controls were pretty well done, especially for being on the Nintendo 3DS where I played the original version. Keep in mind, I did later on do a playthrough of the HD remake of the game when it hit consoles. But I'm excited to know that they're taking that plot line and that franchise kind of seriously again. And that they are listening to fan feedback. They basically said, okay, we've listened to you and we realize now that you don't want an action-based game. You want survival horror. That should have been the core of Resident Evil to begin with. And when we made Resident Evil 6, we fucked up. There's no real horror in that game. It's just a bunch of killing massive amounts of zombies. And that's not what you want. You want more horror to return back to the series. So we're going to try to go back to the roots with our future projects. And in fact, they even interviewed the head guy, and I forget his name, the head guy who's in charge of Resident Evil now at Capcom, and he says, Resident Evil 7 is in production. We are going to take it seriously. It will be a return to survival horror because that's where the series came from, and we're actually listening to fan feedback now. So, what a flip from what happened with the fiasco of Resident Evil 6, okay? Okay, but there's something that I need to point out that I don't think many people, if any, have realized yet. There's something appalling that happens whenever video games, okay, get made into movies. Something silly happens, and it just bugs the hell out of me, and I wanted to bring this up. So let's talk. Actually, I'm probably the only person on the planet who's really talking about this. Do you guys remember back when Tomb Raider in the 2000s? Tomb Raider had a movie in the early 2000s. Angelina Jolie played Lara Croft. Did you remember that right after that, all the Tomb Raider games that came out right after, that all of a sudden Lara Croft's character looked like Angelina Jolie? She didn't previously. And then all of a sudden, because she got cast for the role, every Lara Croft after that kind of looked like Angelina Jolie until finally this reboot that just happened a couple years ago, right? Okay. Do you remember Mortal Kombat, the one that just came out a couple years ago, that they had a web series going on of Mortal Kombat, and they actually cast the actress who played Seven of Nine, forgive me because I cannot remember her name, but she played the character Seven of Nine in Star Trek Voyager. She played Sonya in the series. All of a sudden, the new Mortal Kombat came out, and the face of Sonya looks like the actress. It looks just like her. It's the spitting image of her. Why is it that when video game characters get movies, right, all of a sudden the character in the game now changes to look like the actress in the movie? Especially if the actress doesn't even really look like Sonya. I never pictured Sonya to be played by the actress who did Seven of Nine. Like, I didn't think that she fit the character. All of a sudden now, the character in Mortal Kombat looks like her. I'm like, huh? So I gotta bring this up. Jerry Ryan, that's her name. Jerry Ryan. Thank you, everyone. She looks like Jerry Ryan now, Sonya, right? Now let's bring this up. Claire Redfield is returning to Resident Evil finally, after how many years she wasn't in it. Well, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? There's a series of movies made that are called Resident Evil. They really just take the ideas and the vague kind of overwhelming general plotline of Resident Evil, completely fuck it, right? It's like they clump it into a ball and then they fucking stomp on it with complete disrespect. And the movies really have nothing to do with the game series. They just steal stuff from the games and toss them randomly into the movies. Well, guess what? For 2 movies, Claire Redfield was one of the main characters. She was played by an actress named Ali Larter. In fact, I actually prepared a picture of Ali Larter playing Claire Redfield just for this purpose. Here we are. Here she is, right? She's actually famous. She was on the TV series Heroes. She was on many different TV series, okay? And I know she's blocking my face. You don't need to see my ugly face. She's much more better looking than I am anyway. So here she is, playing Claire Redfield. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to show you the new character design for Claire Redfield. Gee, do you see a similarity at all? Do they kind of look the same? Yeah, they're fucking identical. Look, it's the same woman. What they basically did, they took the facial structure of Ali Larter and they basically scanned it and put it on the fucking Claire Redfield's body. It's the same person. What the fuck? How many games have we played that's Claire Redfield? She's never looked like that before. What the fuck? You see, I swear to God, every game series that gets a movie, all of a sudden, that character changes to look like the actress. Why? Why can't you just keep your thing the same? You know what I mean? So, let's go close that off. Anyway, I don't understand that. I really don't. Like, it's got me for 20 years. Every time a movie comes out, the character changes to look like that. Why? Why can't you just stay with your own series and have your own identity? In this case, I think Capcom is like, well, fuck, we're not in very popular times now because all the game series that we were making, people are backfiring, they're not buying. You know, Street Fighter Cross Tekken was a fiasco, Resident Evil 6 was a fiasco. Oh, wait, those Resident Evil movies are doing well. Let's just change the characters to look like them, and maybe some of the people who watch the movies and don't play the games will now buy the games. I don't know. It's pretty annoying. And I don't know why they do it. I don't want Claire Redfield to look like Ali Larter. In fact, I even said to Leanna earlier today, I said, why don't you just get Ali Larter to do the voice acting? Just have her do the character in the game. You might as well, because that's really the route that you're going, right? Okay. So, there you have it. Okay. Now, the last piece of news that I want to talk about. I'm going to warn you guys because it's going to be a big segment here. I'm going to talk about some touchy subject, right? Opinions. It's going to be, first of all, everything that I'm saying, understand, is my personal opinion. It does not reflect the opinions of my viewer base, my hater base, Leanna, my parents, anyone. It's just my personal opinions, and you have to take it as that. Don't think that I'm trying to be representative of a community or anything else. It's my own personal take on a situation that's been going on now for almost 2 months. It's absolutely ridiculous, the fact that this is still going on at this point. I think that there's, in this particular situation, on both sides of the argument of what we're about to talk about, the only thing that anyone's really talking about in mainstream media regarding gaming, and it pisses me the fuck off, this whole stupid GamerGate fiasco, alright? Now, we talked about GamerGate a few episodes ago on Hate Live. I went through the whole explanation that there was this girl named Zoe, and she was a game developer, and she basically slept with a guy who was in the gaming industry's media section, and then there was all these questions about, was she sleeping around with guys just so that they would talk about her game in the game's media? Did they unfairly review her game and give it a high review because they were sleeping with her? And then she was sleeping with multiple dudes, and it was so stupid. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? The bottom line, the ultimate moral of the story that I got out of it, that I relayed to you guys on Hate Live just a few episodes ago, was this. Take everything with a grain of salt. Understand that even though the gaming media claim that they're professional, that they're not. They're humans like you and I. They're all going to have a subjective and an objective take on when they talk about stuff. There's obviously reasons why they talk about one game a ton and almost never mention another, you know what I mean? And that you have to realize they're not infallible. And no, you shouldn't go to just Metacritic and read a Metacritic reading and think that's the end-all, be-all of a game. And you shouldn't just take what some particular reporter says as black and white truth. That there's always going to be some goodness and some kind of bias when it comes to media. Whether it's mainstream television media, whether it's the radio, whether it's the internet, you know, CNN.com, BBC News, or whether it's Fox News with their political twistings, the way that they twist stuff, and other, you know, more liberal news sites as well. And gaming media. Gaming media will twist the stories that they are telling you to meet a reason or a cause or to push an agenda through. It's always been like this. I don't think there's ever been a time when we've had a black and white media system. Every media system is obviously backed by some kind of a company or corporation that has money and interests in mind, and they try to spin it. So the fact that all of a sudden, last time when we talked about GamerGate, the people were like, all of a sudden we're so appalled that this is happening because we're at full trustworthiness of the gaming media, and now there might actually be corruption or things that aren't true happening in the gaming media. No shit. Wasn't I the guy who, back when Halo ODST came out, said that no one who actually was doing their job objectively could have given Halo ODST a 9 or 10 out of 10 rating because the game wasn't even a fucking complete game? I've been calling these people out for more than half a decade. I've been calling them out on their bullshit. And now all of a sudden, because some girl slept around, now all of a sudden it's become like common knowledge and everyone's like, oh, we're so appalled. Where the fuck were you the past 5 years when I was talking about this shit, right? But now all of a sudden it's a big deal, okay? So why am I bringing this up again? Because we already talked about it a couple weeks ago. Well, since we talked about this subject last, boy, have things changed, have things exploded. Is there controversy all over the internet now? You can't go 5 feet on Twitter without seeing someone tweet something with hashtag GamerGate, and you've got groups of people on one side that are up in arms, and they're, oh, we have to really take the media to task for being so corrupt, and we, you know, and then there's other people on the other side who are saying, oh, this is just a feminist attack on women because this was a girl who slept around, and now because it's a woman, now it's a negative thing, and you're just totally, you know, being so anti-woman, and this is a big feminist issue, and you've got all these feminists who are saying that video games in general are so misogynistic and things like that, and they have their own agenda. Then you've got people who are basically just being dicks and are going around saying really nasty shit to different people on both sides, right? You got people who are getting doxxed, who are getting their addresses just because they wrote an article or posted something about GamerGate. Their personal information's being released. People are getting death threats. People are getting you know, mass killing threats and all kinds of shit going on. And it's out of fucking control. And it's to the point now. It's to the point where the mainstream media has gotten wind of it, not because they actually care or because they want to know what the underlying issue that's going on around there. No, they don't care about that. They just heard that someone had a death threat, so that's it. The mainstream media now thinks this is important, but they're not reporting any of the actual information. They're not talking about the original situation, the fact that it's about corruption in the media. All they're talking about is how this is a feminist issue, women are under attack and getting death threats. And that's all that you hear. They were on fucking Good Morning America. There's an article in this magazine covering one of these feminist leaders, supposedly, saying that, oh, it's all about this and that. What are you talking about? The issue was about the gaming media being corrupt, and somehow it turned into feminism. What? What the fuck happened here? How do we get ourselves so deluded, right, that we lose the core issue? The core of the matter was that we can't trust gaming media because they probably have underlying interests when they report stuff. How did we lose that issue? Where did it go? No one's saying that anymore. Now it's all about people attacking women, all right? And I want you guys to understand something. In no way, shape, or form do I think that anyone should be being attacked, whether they're male or female. It's bullshit. And I actually brought it up on Ask the King last week. I said, this is disgusting shit. We live in this era where people hide on the internet, right? Oh, I'm going to dox someone. I'm going to find their personal info and put it out, and now people will order them pizzas and call them with prank calls and death threats. Well, you know, we know that this person's going to be at a certain event, so we'll call that event, and we'll say that we're coming to kill everyone there. And what the fuck kind of a world do we live in that, number one, people think that's okay and it's funny, and number two, that they can get away with it? Like, how the fuck can you get away with that shit? How can people be getting swatted and shit and nothing's happening to take care of this and make sure that these people are being taken attacked? These are serious crimes. It's not a joke. It's not a prank. This is fucked up stuff. And in no way, shape, or form should this stuff be happening. Okay? I do not condone any of it. It's bullshit. And in fact, I really, at this point, don't really condone anyone who's participating in the GamerGate controversy or whatever, debate, whatever you want to call it. I don't really call it a debate because I don't think there's a debate anymore. It's either women on one side trying to say that there's a feminist agenda, assholes on the other side trying to troll the women, people who are trying to still push through the real agenda of gaming corruption, but they're not getting heard anymore because it's all about those other groups. It's just a mess, and I just don't think it's worth it to even participate in a discussion about it anymore, because when it gets so jumbled and colluded and dissipated to the point that it's been, that the mainstream media covers it and don't even mention the core issue, fuck it. Just forget it. Because the bottom line is it's not going to go away until we just say, stop talking about this stupid shit. No one cares about it anymore. It's a non-issue. And, you know, it really is dumb. It's dumb that we can't have intelligent discussion anymore, that it has to, because of social media now, it has to dissolve into garbage, and it has to dissolve into trolling and nastiness and this negative bullshit, when at the core of the issue, we could have actually said, all right, let's take gaming media to task. Let's make sure that they're honest. Let's make sure that there's no kind of actually corruption in what they're telling us, so that when they give a game score review, or they cover a certain game, or when you go to IGN and the entire fucking website is an ad for a game, and you can't even find the content you want because the ads are popping up in your fucking face, you say, fuck you, I don't want this. I want real legitimate news journalism on gaming. I don't want your bullshit anymore, and your fluff and your opinion pieces. I want people who are professional, who are actually going to tell me facts and truthfulness instead of what's behind your corporate bullshit agenda. That's what everyone should be talking about, and it's completely blown up in the wrong direction. So now, I'm going to finish this by, unfortunately, I have to address one particular thing that I have found completely and utterly vile and disgusting, and it has to be called out. And, you know, some people are going to not like this, that I'm talking about it. Some people already are probably, oh, Phil, why don't you just move on? But, you know, that's what Hate Live is for. It's for me to give my opinions on stuff, all right? In life, all right, when you're treated unfairly, when you're bullied, okay, you can have different ways of going about continuing on with your life. You can overcome it. You can push ahead positively. You can become completely negative. There's many different ways in life when you're faced with negative things and roadblocks and threats and bullying and stuff like that. There's different ways that you can react. I, in particular, am the kind of person that, yes, I have a lot of negativity surrounding myself and my persona on the internet. I'm not completely stupid or living under a rock. I'm aware of that. But as you guys see, how have I addressed it? Yeah, a lot of the times I call out those people, and people think that a lot of the times that I misconstrue legitimate criticism as haters, when really I don't, but I'm not going to get into that, because really the core of what I'm trying to say is, at its core, what do I do daily? Do I say, oh no, people don't like me, I better roll up into a ball and hide here on my love seat and never do another game playthrough and never do anything else and fall out of the public eye and just give up, right? Do I do that? Or every day when I go on stream and I'm playing games and we're having fun together, do you hear me every 5 seconds? Oh God, another hater tweet. Oh God, someone else said that I'm an asshole. Oh man, someone prank called me. Oh man, do you hear this all the time? And every once in a while I'll mention it, but you notice that I push ahead positively. I'm still here daily. I'm still putting out my content. I'm still having fun being a gamer and basically living the dream, being able to do as a hobby what I'm doing for a living and enjoying my life, all right? I don't want to be a professional victim. And let me tell you, I could be. With all the negative shit that's out there, I could become a professional victim where all I do is constantly bitch about another person did another nasty thing to me, and that could be what I'm all about, Mr. Negativity. I could be that. But I choose to try to veer away from that and to focus positively on all the game releases that are coming out and all the great times that we've had over the past several years, and in particular these past several weeks with all the great new releases that came out and we experienced together on stream and on YouTube. That's what I choose to focus my time on, all right? And I would think that any intelligent, mature, intellectual individual would realize that that's how you go about it. Now, unfortunately, I have to address a particular person who everyone knows her name. The reason you know her name is because she is a professional victim, all right? I don't care anything about Anita Sarkeesian's feminist philosophy. I don't care that she thinks that Bayonetta is sexist. I don't care, because the bottom line is I'm a male. I don't have a correct frame of reference, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't sit here and do the research and say, oh, I know everything about every situation, and I can say that she's definitively wrong or right on any situation or anything that she said. In my world, she doesn't exist, because in my world, I don't care about those issues. I'm not a woman, and they don't affect me. I was, born a man, so God forbid that I actually care about male-related issues, not female-related issues. So I'm not here to discredit anything that she's ever said on feminist stuff. What I am here to tell you is that when you become a professional victim and you single-handedly derail a discussion that could have been productive for your own fucking selfish purposes, that's when you really reveal the real kind of person you are, all right? Anita Sarkeesian basically is a feminist who goes around and says that video games are misogynist and sexist. She makes a living doing it, all right? She has video series on YouTube where she takes in tens of thousands of dollars of donations to make video series. I don't know what the fuck tens of thousands of dollars go into to make a video on YouTube, because it looks like anything that anyone could run through a video editor and do research online to do anyway, but I digress. That's not the point. The point here is that during this whole GamerGate controversy, she spoke up. Of course, she was very, very defensive of Zoe Quinn and saying, oh, nothing that she did was wrong. The only reason that this is a controversy and that this is coming out is because she was a woman. If it were a man who slept around with a bunch of women, it would be a totally different situation, and it's not fair. I'm not here to say whether or not she's right or wrong, all right? Here's what happened. A bunch of assholes, yeah, if this is true, what she's saying happened, it's vile and disgusting. A bunch of people basically prank called places where she was going to appear for like discussions and open forums and speeches and stuff, award ceremonies, and basically said, if you do anything with that woman, we're killing everyone. Supposedly, they called her directly, okay, and they said, we're going to come and rape and kill you. And so she was basically forced to leave her home for fear of her life. I'm, again, not here to question that. In fact, I will even give Anita the benefit of the doubt, and I will say I believe her. Because just the shit that's happened to me, personally, when I'm not that much of an outspoken person about a specific subject and a touchy one at that, I've had some pretty fucked up stuff happen to me since my YouTube presence. In fact, I'll be honest with you guys, I've had death threats. Yes, I have. I've had serious death threats. I've had people try to find where I live. I've had people who found where I live. I've had people deliver 15 pizzas to my house because they thought it was funny. And the poor pizza guy went back and probably got fired for having 15 pizzas that he didn't get any money for. I've had nasty shit happen to me, okay? The difference here is that I don't talk about it. Did you ever hear me before this moment tell you that I've had a serious death threat? No, because those people don't deserve attention. Those people are doing it for attention. Those people are doing it so that they can try to disrupt the natural order of things and make me, scare me out of doing gameplay for you guys on a daily basis. Those people, that's what they're out to do, all right? I don't let them win. So I don't talk about it, and I'll be honest, I'm not going to talk about it anymore. I just had to bring it up for this particular reason, because the same thing supposedly has happened to Anita. What did she do? Did she become an intelligent, moral human and say, well, I'm above it, let's just get back to the topic? No! She went out and it's all she talks about now is how men are threatening to kill her and do nasty things to her. She's completely derailed the discussion on GamerGate. No one is talking about the gaming media anymore. It's all about feminism and Anita Sarkeesian getting death threats and how horrible it is. And she was on Good Morning America. She's got a fucking article in this magazine that doesn't discuss the issue behind GamerGate. Instead, it's all about her own personal agenda bullshit. Anita Sarkeesian has used GamerGate to make herself become the #1 spokesperson for feminism in our modern age, and she's making a living doing it, and everyone got fooled. The mainstream media is treating her like she's some kind of a figurehead that needs popularity and needs to be listened to, and she's done it completely for selfish, disgusting fucking purposes. And it fucking pisses me the fuck off that people fall for that fucking shit. How can you be that stupid? She's doing it for herself. I don't care. If she really was afraid that someone was going to kill her, you report it to the fucking cops and the FBI or whoever, and you move on with your life. You don't talk about it and make that the core of your existence. That's gross and disgusting, and it's totally for her own self-benefit. It's not to help women's agendas at all. It's for her own popularity's sake. It's bullshit, and people need to call her out for her bullshit. People need to stop participating in bullshit like GamerGate and move on to more intelligent, positive shit. We need to get back to the core issues and stop getting every 5 seconds sidelined by a hashtag or some other fucking TMZ-style drama. No one gives a fuck about the high school bullshit who has an intelligent brain. We want progress. We don't want nonsense and white noise taking us away from the issues, all right? Whew. Okay. I got it off of my chest, all right? That's probably the last time I'm going to mention it because I don't want to be focused on that shit. I'm here to daily play games, have fun, and basically, like I said, have my hobby be my living. I'm not here to be focused on negative shit. I'm not here to go on Twitter for 5 hours a day and hashtag GamerGate and argue with misinformed people who don't know what the fuck they're talking about because I'm above it. I have other stuff to do. I have way more important stuff to do. You should definitely take that to heart and realize if you think that it's a way, any kind of worth your time either, if you just let it go and let those idiots go argue themselves into oblivion because they're either doing it for trolling purposes or someone like Anita is doing it for her own personal agenda and they don't give a fuck about the actual issues. They only care about themselves. Let them go fucking argue themselves into oblivion and go on with your own daily life, okay? All right, and that's going to end the first segment of Hate Live tonight. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to return with back in the day, Halloween stories and reminiscing. Okay, I'm going to talk all about my childhood, about the outfits I used to wear for Halloween, candy, trick-or-treating, parties that I've gone to, and all kinds of stuff about how me and my family handled Halloween when I was younger, and of course now coming up now, how I handle it now. If you're watching on Twitch TV, there's going to be a short commercial break, but I'll be right back. I hope you'll stick around. If you're watching this on YouTube, right in the description of the video, you can click on the link. It'll jump you straight ahead to that segment, and you don't have to sit around here watching dead air. Thanks a lot, everyone. I'll be right back with Back in the Day. I'll see you on the other end of the break. All right, everyone. Welcome back to Hate Live. Whew. I really do feel relieved we got past that first segment and I got that off my chest. And now I will have no more rage or any kind of that kind of issue for the rest of the show after this moment. God damn it! Okay. Got it out of my system. All right, everybody. So. Okay. Let's talk. Back in the day, segment number 2 of Hate Live tonight. Going to be a lot different than that last one, that's for sure. Because as you guys know, in about a week here, we are going to be celebrating Halloween in America, or North America, or the United States, or what's the politically correct term? I don't know. But we will be celebrating Halloween, and it is a big holiday here in America. In fact, I think they did research, and they found out like a couple of years ago that Halloween is like the number 2 or 3 holiday when it comes to dollars spent. That Christmas is by far number 1, but like Halloween is like hot on its heels or something like that. So, yeah, so Halloween out of all things, right? I know in a lot of countries it's not a big deal. It's like, well, kids go out and get candy and that's all we care about. Here, I tell you, people decorate their houses with Halloween decorations. Everyone's talking about it. There's horror-themed marathons and stuff on television and in the movies. A big month for horror movies to be released in. All kinds of things for the deck of cards. People send cards. It's huge. It's getting as big as Christmas almost. And for the most part, it's big business, you know what I mean, because of this, and the corporations are trying to rake in the cash for a silly holiday that's really for the kiddies. But for the most part, it is becoming more mainstream as well for adults to even participate in Halloween. So let's actually talk a little bit about my history with Halloween as a kid and how exactly I would go about celebrating. Well, first of all, before you actually get to the event of All Hallows Eve, or Halloween, which stands for All Hallows Eve, which actually originally apparently has some kind of either Christian or religious association, but then it also has something to do with Sam Hain and witchcraft. I don't know the origins of Halloween. I'm not going to pretend like I did any kind of research on this, but one of the things that I would always do as a kid during the month of October is about halfway through the month, I would go with my parents to the pumpkin patch. And that's right, there was in Connecticut a couple local farms where they actually grew pumpkins, and they would have them out in an area, and the kids would come by on the weekends with their parents, and they would walk through and pick a pumpkin, because we would actually do pumpkin carving. And so that was always fun. We'd go to the farm, pick out a pumpkin. Usually you'd get other stuff while you were there, like some kind of homemade candies, even pumpkin pie, apple pie, stuff like that. Okay, and then we would bring the pumpkin home, and we would wait. We wouldn't immediately carve it. Usually we wait about a week because we want to carve it closer to Halloween. But here's the thing about pumpkins. When you carve a jack-o'-lantern, if you carve it too early, it will shrivel up and die before Halloween happens. So you need to be careful about it and try to do it timed right so that you'll have it for Halloween. So we would buy this pumpkin about the week before Halloween. We'd cut it open, and there's not a lot to it, really. When you wash the pumpkin off, you cut all the top, a big circle out, you take it up, and all the pumpkin seeds and pulp are attached to the top stem. So you pull that out, you take that off, scrape it off, and throw it out. You scrape out the pumpkin, which is a pain in the ass, but you scrape out all the insides of the pumpkin, and then you decide what design you want to do on the pumpkin, whether you want to do like a spooky face or a word. And I did different things. I used to do like evil eye pumpkins, triangle, basic shape pumpkins with the noses, some without noses, some with more crazy mouths. I did a few different styles of pumpkins over the years, and for a while I actually was getting pretty good at it until I stopped doing it when I was in high school. And it's fun. It's fun because then you can put lights inside of it, and you have it lit on your porch, every night. It's a pretty scary, spooky thing for Halloween to do, and it's fun too because it's a family-oriented thing. And then, of course, when the kids come on Halloween night to get their candy, and they kick the funky pumpkin off the porch, and it lights a fire or explodes. That's a whole other thing. But it's fun. That's one of the traditions that we actually do here in the United States. Halloween itself, all right, is traditionally 2 things can happen. Either you go to a party or you go trick-or-treating. When you're younger, you tend to go trick-or-treating. So for those of you who don't know what that is, some of you might not. I know I have an international viewer base, and a lot of you might not know what trick-or-treating is. You dress up as a character. It could be anything. It could be a real person. It could be a character from comics, movies, cartoons, television, any realm of anything. Or it could be something horror themed. Maybe you want to be the classic vampire or the werewolf or something like that. And you dress up and you have some kind of a container with you, whether it's a plastic bag, whether, for me, it was always a plastic pumpkin with a hole on top and a handle. And you would walk like this, and it would be your container for candy when you go trick-or-treating. And so what you would do that Halloween night, you dress up, and you go out, and you go door to door. Now, the rules, when I was a kid, there's always different rules depending on where you live and whatever. The rules were, Halloween night, if you were going to give out candy to children, you needed to leave your front porch light on. That way the child knows that there's someone at home and they're giving out candy. Once you run out of candy, or if you're not giving out candy, you're supposed to turn your porch light off so that no one will go by there and think that they're knocking, and there's someone home with candy, and no one would show up, okay? So I would go around the neighborhood, and I would go to all the houses that had the lights on. You would knock, and the person would answer and say hello, and you say trick or treat. And sometimes they'd be stupid and they'd be dicks. Oh, trick. Like, fuck you, give me candy. No, I wouldn't say that, but, you know, it's supposed to be trick or treat. I guess traditionally there was a meaning behind trick or treat. Like, you would have to do something to fool the person in order to get the candy. I don't know, but now it's just basically say trick or treat. Oh, you little kids look cute. Oh, you're dressed up like Minnie Mouse, and oh, you're dressed up as, you know, whatever character it is. You look so cute. And then they give you a piece of candy. And that would be it, and then you move on to the next house. And if you were lucky, you'd hit up a few dozen houses that were all giving out candy, and you'd end up going home with a big mother load of candy that you can then separate out and you could eat over the next several weeks. Now, my parents were the kind of people that were like, you can only have one piece of candy a day. Don't go nuts eating 25,000 pieces of candy and get sick. A lot of kids, unfortunately, their parents aren't that good, and they say, oh, just go ahead and pick out, and the kid eats and gets sick to their stomach because they ate a ton of candy that night. I never did that. We would ration it out carefully, so I'd have candy for the next several weeks. Every day I could have a piece. Now, of course, when you go trick-or-treating, you're always going to have the assholes. Oh, I'm a dentist, and I'm not going to give you candy. I'm going to give you a toothbrush and an apple because I promote dental care. And you know what I would say to those people? Fuck you, because if I wanted a toothbrush and an apple, I'd go to the fucking dentist. I'm not here to hear about your bullshit life agenda about teeth. Give me a goddamn piece of candy or turn your light off. But some people would be like that. Oh, and one thing that always got me, I loved all the chocolate candy. I loved Smarties. I used to really like anything that had like a sourness or very sweetness to it. Lollipops were pretty good, but I didn't necessarily, the hard candies weren't my favorite, okay? But the one that always got me, that I still don't understand to this day, candy corn. What the fuck is it supposed to be? It doesn't look like corn, and it doesn't taste like candy. It's weird. It's brown and orange and yellow and white sometimes, and it's got this nasty, almost waxy consistency to it. If you suck on it, it tastes bad. If you chew it, it tastes bad. It leaves a bad taste in your mouth. Who designed candy corn, and who the fuck likes candy corn? It's fucking gross. But no matter what, it's the cheapest candy. It's the cheapest candy, so undoubtedly you get some asshole who just went into the store and spent $2 on a giant bag this big of fucking candy corn. Oh, you want some candy? And they pour it in your butt. You're like, what the fuck? You might as well put a rock in there because I'm not eating that shit. It's gross. Candy corn is gross. It's gross. All right. And so what would happen is, like I said, after a night of trick-or-treating, I would come home and we would pour our buckets of candy out onto the kitchen table, and we would separate it out by what it was. Chocolate, here's like a sour candy, lollipops, and we'd basically look at our take. And actually it was nice because I did live with my cousin at the time. She was 5 years older than me, but when I was very small, we would still go trick-or-treating together, and we were actually nice about it. So let's say that I really like chocolate, but she really likes the lollipops. I'll trade you this cherry lollipop for that bag of M&Ms. Okay, and we would trade. And that way everyone gets what they want versus you get stuck with shit that you don't like fucking candy corn, but no one ever wanted candy corn, so we threw it out. Okay. But unfortunately, there are sick people out there. I hate to say this. There were sick people who would do nasty shit. You would, every once in a while, you get a piece of candy that maybe wasn't safe. Some asshole was melted and gross because they did it on purpose as a prank or something like that. So you would. My parents would always be with me, and they'd have to screen the candy to make sure that the candy was actually safe. And actually, my dad always went trick-or-treating with me. When I got old enough, I didn't want to trick-or-treat anymore. But after the years that I was trick-or-treating, my dad would always go with me because you always know there's going to be some asshole that's going to try to do something stupid. Unfortunately, over the years, my neighborhood got real bad. Like, basically, a lot of the people who lived near my parents moved away, and a lot of other people who were kind of bad influences moved in, and a lot of the kids just got to be, like, nasty kids. I didn't associate with them, and eventually I just didn't care anymore, and we stopped trick-or-treating. So, First of all, let's talk about costumes. What costumes did I dress up as a kid? And I actually remember a few years. I remember one year. Well, first of all, the big thing when I was a kid was He-Man on television. This was actually right before the era of Transformers and G.I. Joe. All right, Transformers and G.I. Joe were released almost simultaneously by the company Hasbro, and when they were released, the cartoons hit TV and they became like the big thing for boys. But right before then, the big thing was He-Man, which is oddly, strangely pretty homoerotic, the show. Now that I've seen a couple episodes later on in life and I watch it and I'm like, Prince Adam talks like he's a girl, and then all of a sudden he transforms and he's a giant roided dude glistening with dew, and he does these weird macho things, and he's almost naked. And I watched the show today and I'm like, what the fuck did I watch when I was a kid? But I loved it as a kid. And so for Halloween, I didn't, for me when I was a kid, I was like, Halloween's about spooky, scary. So I don't want to dress up as He-Man for Halloween, right? I want to be the villain because that's the spooky. So I would dress up as Skeletor. I remember I dressed up as Hordak one year, who was the other villain from He-Man, even though he was really from the show She-Ra, but then he got interjected into He-Man for the sake of selling toys. And I think that was like 2 or 3 years I was He-Man related when I was really, really young. I'm talking like maybe 5 years old, something like that, okay? How would you get your Halloween costumes back then? Well, you would go to the local store, and at that time, the store that I would go to was actually called Bradley's. It was a chained discount store that also had all kinds of merchandise. They would have foods, they would have appliances, but they would also have things like home goods, things for your house, furniture, clothing, drinks, toys for kids. It was basically like almost like today you would go to Walmart. Bradley's was like the smaller scale Walmart, but they were locally owned and they were actually a lot better run. And we would go there and they would have a big Halloween section. And back then, this was the era of the vinyl suits. Now, I don't know if kids still wear these fucking things, but these things were just gross. What it was a vinyl plastic suit, onesie suit, okay, that you would either attach to the front of your body, or you would step into, and it would go up around your body and make your body look like the character. So for Skeletor, it would have fake muscles on it, It would be blue for Skeletor. And the really shitty masks were, I don't even know how to describe the masks because they were so shitty. It was like a half, like imagine the front half of my face from here on cut off, okay? Cut my face off, and it was hollow. But it was a thin plastic, and you would put it on your face. It would never really fit properly. It had a crappy rubber band that would attach it to your head, and it would be like, your breath, because it only had a tiny breath hole, would condense on the mask. You'd be tasting your own sweat and spit, and it was just not a good time for Halloween costumes, all right? And yeah, someone just said in the stream chat, they cut your tongue. You're right. If you accidentally talked and your tongue moved forward, it would cut your fucking tongue. It was just, I don't know, but this was all they had. You go to the store, that's literally all the Halloween costumes. That's how they would be. So for a couple of years, I did that, and it was an interesting experience. I remember later on, I mixed it up a little bit. As I was getting older, I actually remember that there was a year when the X-Men were all the rage because the X-Men cartoon was on TV and it was huge and big and popular, right? And we went to the store and we were looking at the different costumes that they had for X-Men, and they were crappy. They were just like the ones that I just described for He-Man, and even they would have fake little crap claws that looked like shit. They were just terrible. They were, they don't want kids actually having claws and running around like Wolverine stabbing people in the face, right? So I wanted to be Wolverine that year, and I said to my parents, I could fucking do better than what's in that goddamn store. I know if I had the tools to do it, I could make myself an awesome Halloween costume of Wolverine. So my parents said, well, how much money do you think you would need? And I was like, I don't know, maybe $20. And I remember I went to an arts and crafts store. I bought high-grade cardboard for arts and crafts. I bought lots of glue, tape, stuff like that. I went to the store, the grocery store, and I bought tin foil, of all things, aluminum tin foil. And I went home, and it took me about a week. And every night I would spend 2 or 3 hours on this after I did my homework, and I fucking constructed claws for Wolverine. They were actually three-dimensional. They weren't thin. They were three-dimensional, like, triangular parallelogram kind of things that would come out of a base of cardboard that taped to my hand, and it was awesome. They were shiny, just like Wolverine's claws. And, I mean, they were not the sturdiest of things, but they were really cool. It was a cool homemade project. And I remember that year I got invited to a Halloween party at school, from a kid at school, and we all went over his house. And, you know, everyone's showing up with their typical outfits. They're showing up in, you know, oh, this kid, you know, is, what's his name, with the shitty mask or whatever. And I walked in, and I had a Wolverine mask, the Wolverine shirt, and fucking real claws. And I walked in, and everyone's jaws went, huh? And kids were running up to me like, how did you do that? Your dad made that for you. I was like, my dad didn't even touch this. I did this myself. I spent a week doing it. It was awesome. It was just like really awesome to have that and feeling creative that I had done that. Now, of course, I didn't want to, you know, I wasn't allowed to wear them around. They actually had a Halloween party that year at school, and I was told you can wear them in, but as soon as you get inside, you must take them off and put them away. We're afraid that you'll try to attack people with them and stuff. And of course, you know, some kids probably would, but I told them, no, that's not the reason I made these. I don't want to attack people with them. I'll damage them, and then I'll look stupid for Halloween. So anyway, I remember that year when I went trick-or-treating, it was a bad year. Here's the story. Wait till you guys hear this, okay? It was Halloween, and unfortunately, that Halloween was rainy. And my dad's like, well, what are we going to do? You know, it's raining. And my mom heard, oh, well, the local mall. We heard that the local mall is actually doing trick-or-treating for kids. Let's bring him to the mall. And we showed up, I kid you not, 10 minutes after the trick-or-treating event ended at the mall. And we went from store to store, and they said, sorry, we gave out all our candy. It's all gone. Sorry. I ended up getting like 4 pieces of candy that year. And I was so pissed off because it had rained. I couldn't trick-or-treat. And then after that, I went to the mall, and people couldn't see my costume. Like, basically, I did this amazing Wolverine costume, and no actual trick-or-treaters saw my costume because there was, you know, basically didn't work out that year. It sucked. It really did suck. All right, another year. This was a good year. I remember Jurassic Park came out. Okay, Jurassic Park the movie, and at this time, finally, they were starting to come out in the mid '90s with some pretty decent Halloween costumes at this point. And I remember they actually had the Jurassic Park themed stuff, and you could either get the Raptor or the Dilophosaurus. Okay, were the two that you could get. And it was basically a big rubber mask that looked just like, I mean, it was fucking realistic as hell. It looked just like the dinosaurs from the movie. And gloves that would go over your hands, and it would turn your hand into a dinosaur gloved hand. And I chose the Dilophosaurus. Why? 2 reasons. Number 1, because the Raptor was kind of a basic head. The Dilophosaurus had this cool stuff that kind of jutted out of the head. Remember, the Dilophosaurus is the one where its whole head opens up with frills and it spits in your face. That was the dinosaur from Jurassic Park. And so I wanted the one that looked cooler, and I got that one. And I remember the challenge of that one was that the mask itself looked real, but the problem was that it would sink in. Like, it wouldn't stay full. It would sink in, and it would look like it was a shriveled head. So what I ended up doing that year, I remember, I think it was paper towels and cotton balls, and I basically shoved it into all the grooves of the mask to puff it out and fill it up. And I remember that year, again, people were like, I think in school there was a Halloween party and everything, and people were like, it's an awesome costume. So I remember a few years in particular, I had a lot of fun with Halloween, with that kind of stuff. And then after a while, you kind of get bored of it. I'll be honest. It really is a holiday for kids to go trick-or-treating and have fun and do things. Oh, one of the things that I would do every year, I gotta tell you guys, it's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. It's the Charlie Brown Halloween special. My dad is an insanely huge fan of Charlie Brown, and every year starting in October, that was it for him. In October, we would watch It's the Great Pumpkin Charlie Brown. In November, we'd watch the Thanksgiving Charlie Brown, and then we'd watch the Charlie Brown Christmas special at Christmas. For him, it was like, it must happen. It is like a family tradition, we must do it. And we would watch it every year, and it's a fun, I like Charlie Brown. Charlie Brown teaches you a lot of things, cynical things about life, watching it, and it's an interesting thing that's kind of one of the things I grew up with and the kind of person that I turned into, I think, as a result of a lot of those influences when I was a kid, and Charlie Brown was one of them. So yeah, it really is Halloween is a Halloween or a holiday for kids, But what's happened over the past several decades, I would say, it's becoming more for adults. I hear more and more adult, oh, we're dressing up for Halloween, we're going to a Halloween party, you know, we're going to a bar, dress up in a Halloween costume, and it's like, I didn't hear about any of that stuff when I was a kid. Now all of a sudden it's like huge that adults do it now too, and like I said, it's become a huge industry. So in particular, now jumping fast forward to, I'd probably say this was about, let's see, it's 2014 now, and I moved, I think it was about maybe 8 years ago. I was living in the town of New Haven, Connecticut. I actually was living in an apartment with 2 other roommates. We had a 3-bedroom apartment with a giant main living area, a big kitchen, and then we each had our own private bedrooms, and there was like one bathroom that the 2 guys, it was me and another guy shared, and the girl had her own bathroom on the other side. And it was cool because the 3 of us were completely different. Like, I was into gaming culture. I was into that kind of stuff. The kid next to me was into more like sports and bar hopping and that kind of stuff. And the girl was from like Boston area, so she had friends from like a completely different walk of life. And we decided, what the hell, why don't we have a Halloween party, and we'll invite all of our individual friends to come and mingle, and it'll be this huge thing. It ended up being one of the most fun things I think I've ever done in my life. So here's the story. I invited a bunch of people who I knew from the Street Fighter days. So people who, you know, I usually would only be playing video games with and stuff showed up to actually be at this party. And I remember I had 2 Halloween costumes that year. I started out dressed up as the Punisher, where I had a, you know, skull t-shirt, classic Punisher shirt. My hair, I actually purposely grew out a little bit, and just like I do my hair now, that's kind of how I had it then. I combed it back, didn't have the goatee, I was clean shaven like the Punisher, and I actually had a leather trench coat that I had, and I swear I looked like the Punisher. People were like, holy shit, he looks just like the Punisher from the comics, which was pretty neat. And then other people, you know, from their other groups showed up that were friendly, and some people were vampires, you know, all kinds of different stuff. It was a really awesome party. It was a lot of fun. And we did a lot of different things. I remember we played beer pong, and, you know, I've never talked about this, but I really liked beer pong. And there was a time in my life when I was in college, and then later on when I actually lived in New Haven, where I was friends with people who would drink all the time, and we would play beer pong a lot. And actually, I'm pretty competitive at it, and I liked it a lot. But after those maybe couple of years where I played it, I never really played it again. But I remember in particular at this party, we played beer pong all night. We had a beer pong tournament in teams of 2 that were randomly generated, which was pretty wild. And so we did that. We had music playing all night. We actually put up all these Halloween decorations, spooky decorations, and lights and things all around the place. People got drunk. Oh, I remember we had, oh my God, do I remember this. And I talk about this in my videos, jungle juice. You ever hear me reference jungle juice in my videos, in my playthroughs, and you might be saying to yourself, what the hell is jungle juice? Alright, so I didn't even know about it until this party, but apparently jungle juice is you take Kool-Aid mix or fruit punch, and you mix it with real fruit, ice, water, and, get ready, grain alcohol. And it basically makes an incredibly potent punch that you drink and you get fucked up, because grain alcohol is some of the strongest alcohol that you can get. And so we made a giant fucking container. It was a giant cooler of jungle juice, and we put it in the bathtub. And people all night were going in there and getting it and drinking it and getting fucked up. We also had a keg, so people were getting in there getting the beer, because we needed the keg anyway for the beer pong. We knew we were going to need that. And oh my God, it was out of control. We also made Jello shots, but my roommate screwed it up. So Jello shots, traditionally the way you're supposed to do it is you get these little Dixie cups, okay? They're called Dixie cups. They're made by a company called Dixie. It's basically a tiny little paper cup. And you basically make Jello with a liquor in it inside. And you're supposed to, first of all, you're supposed to double them up, meaning use 2 Dixie cups to do it, not 1. And you're supposed to put it in a fridge and have like 8 hours for these things to freeze and turn into Jello. This girl makes Jello shots like 2 hours before the party. She was already starting to drink, so she was already buzzed and didn't know what she was doing. She didn't double the cups over, so people walked into the party, like, she's like, here, have some Jello shots. Sure. They would open the fridge, take it out, go like this to think it's Jello to eat. It was still liquid, and it would go whoosh right in their face. It's liquor. So they're like, oh, my eyes. Oh. Like, what are you doing? You can't give those out. You can't give out those Jello shots. Those things are going to fucking be liquid. We did. We ended up throwing them out, or people would chug them like shots. But it was so funny when they did that. What else? God, I'm trying to remember. We did a lot of stuff during that party. It was a lot of fun. I actually ended up meeting a few people from the apartment building who were just kind of passing by. They saw the party. We said, come on in. They would come in, and, they were partying through younger people. I remember, oh my God, there were some girls who came from the Boston area. They were hot, and they were doing, like, fucking body shots. What? The look on your face is great. What? Really? This is what happened to Halloween. What?
What kind of fucking Halloween is that?
This is a great Halloween party.
You have alcohol in your tub?
Yes.
You're setting people, like,
on
fire?
All right. We didn't set people on fire. Get out of here. I didn't say that. All right. So we're doing body shots off these girls on our countertop. It was great. You're outside. That was great. Oh, man. But no, it was a wild party. And I remember waking up the next day. Oh wait, I forgot to tell you about the big thing. So the big thing, I told my roommates I wanted to do a surprise because at the time I was big into wrestling. You guys know I'm really big into wrestling, right? I said I want to do a costume change during the party. Like halfway through the party, what I want to do is start playing music, and they'll say, we got a special guest, from Greenwich, Connecticut, weighing in at 290-something pounds, Triple H. And I had a Triple H, I had a long blonde wig, a Triple H t-shirt, and I had, like, hand stuff. I wrapped my hands in it. I wanted to come out of my room like this, looking like a roided Triple H. And I told them all night I wanted to do it. But we were having so much fun during this party, okay, that we forgot about it. And then it was like 2 in the morning. Everyone was drunk as shit. And all of a sudden, my roommate remembers, and she's like, we're going to do it. And I was drunk. I was like, duh, okay, we'll do it, duh. So I remember I went in and I put the wig on. The wig wasn't even on. It was like halfway off, right? Halfway off my fucking head. And I came out like all disheveled. I looked drunk. I could barely walk. And people were laughing like, no, Phil, what are you doing? Don't be stupid. And I said, I trip up the game. And I drank water and I spit and it fucking went everywhere. It was hilarious. He was like, what the fuck? Get this drunken asshole. Stop him. Stop it. But it was a good party. It was a good time. And I remember, we had a lot of fun. I remember waking up the next day on the floor. I woke up in the middle of the living room floor. And I said, when the fuck did I even pass out to be here? I don't remember. I don't remember the night ending. I have no idea what happened last night. Like, when did this party end? I don't even know where. There was, like, some people were missing. We didn't know if they had left during the night or whatever. And some people were just passed out all over the place. It was pretty wild. And it was a fun party. And it's, the thing is, now that I'm an older adult, I mean, obviously, no, there's not a lot that I can do to celebrate Halloween too much. Besides maybe some basic stuff. Like, for example, I did actually buy a pumpkin, and we are going to carve it. We've decided probably this Sunday night, we're going to carve the pumpkin after I do the weekend preview, probably. And we'll probably vlog it to show you guys, what we chose to make, as our jack-o'-lantern. You could do that. We've been doing a horror-themed month where every night we're watching horror-themed stuff, whether it's horror movies. We've been watching Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, some Halloween movies, Saw, The Omen, The Exorcist, Leprechaun, the Chucky movies. Last night we watched The Purge Anarchy, which I didn't really like. I thought it sucked. And a few other things. Oh, Alien. We watched the first Alien the week that I was playing Alien Isolation. And so it's been a cool month. We're watching all this horror-themed stuff. And then we actually watched a horror-themed anime called Another. And it's fun. It's fun to kind of get into that spooky mode for a month, a month out of the year where maybe the rest of the year you're not too much into horror and ghosts and goblins and things like ghosts. What the hell's a ghost? Look out for those ghosts and those vampiros. Now I'm making stuff up. So, that's kind of how we celebrate now. Unfortunately, and I hate to say it, this is probably one of the things that's a little sad, is because we've chosen to live in a private gated community, there's no trick-or-treating here. So we won't have any kids coming by for Halloween to give out candy, and that is one of the things that maybe a bummer. Might have been nice to hand out candy on Halloween night, and we're not going to be doing that. But what? She says the candy is hers. She wants all the candy. So that's one thing we can't do because we live here in a private community. But, in the future, if we ever move or whatever, I would definitely like that, because I remember as a kid it was a lifelong tradition of mine to go trick-or-treating and then to go do other stuff and Halloween-themed stuff. And, you know, it's cool. It's cool to be here and now celebrating holidays in a different setting, a different place. And, you know, it's so different than being in Connecticut. And, yeah, it's going to be interesting. An interesting year this year, definitely, being here in Washington and seeing things kind of like almost my own family celebrating versus previously it was like me and my parents, and now it's kind of like our own thing. And that's cool. It's a cool feeling. So that's really it for my Halloween reminiscing. I'm just trying to think, you know, momentarily if there's anything else. Oh, there's one other thing. My mother got this thing. It was this doll, and I guess it was supposed to be like, I forget if it was a scarecrow. It was supposed to be some kind of a monster or something. It was this figurine, because my mom loved to decorate the house when I was a kid. She would, and even today, even for Christmas, she still decorates her house like crazy. She would get this figurine thing, okay? And it would look scary, and it would not do anything, and then all of a sudden she would turn it on, and when you walk by, it was sound or light activated, and it would yell out, and it would scare the fuck out of you. And I still remember there were some nights I'd be walking through the house at night, and I didn't know she turned it on. I walked by, oh fuck, you know, what the hell is that? Like, Mom, why the hell did you put that there? Oh, I got you. I'm like, oh. But that's pretty much it for my Halloween reminiscing. I hope that you enjoyed it. I know there was a lot of stuff that I just talked about, and we'll see what happens with Halloween in the future, I guess, right? All right, everyone. So that is going to pretty much wrap it up tonight for Hate Live, the Halloween special. I hope that you definitely enjoyed my Halloween reminiscing. I hope that if you do celebrate Halloween, that you enjoy it this year and you have fun with your own families. Obviously, be safe. And what?
We're not going to tell the story about how I almost got heat stroke 2 out of 3 years.
When you start your own podcast, you can tell your story about getting heat stroke.
Like you don't memorize.
You told me the story like 100 times about how you almost got heat stroke dressed as Chip from Chip and Dale because you wore the vinyl suit. All right, we get it. People don't even hear. They probably even know the story, even though you've never told it on camera. They probably still know it because you tell me the story so much. All right. So thanks everyone for watching Hate Live. I appreciate it. Have a good night. I'll see you. I will be back next week with another episode of Hate Live. I'm not sure what exactly the Back in the Day segment will be, but I've decided that I am going to do it for the next couple of weeks, at least to kind of stay with the pattern of what we're doing here. And like I said, keep in mind in 2 weeks we may have a special guest. We'll have to see, but I'll let you know more about that as we approach. All right, everyone?
Is it me?
You seem to be in every episode anyway, so. All right, thanks everyone. Have a good night. I'll see you this week for more gameplay, and I'll see you next week on another edition of the Hate Live podcast. Peace out.